Now we take a look at news stories making headlines around the globe. Amid recent divestments by international oil companies, IOCs, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Oil, Senator Heineken Lokobere, has revealed that the takeover of some assets by indigenous firms has led to the addition of 200,000 barrels per day to the nation's crude output. Lokobere, who delivered a keynote address on behalf of President Bola Tinubu at the Africa Energy Week in Cape Town, South Africa, also highlighted the need for more cooperation among African countries to explore the roughly $4 trillion in domestic capital, including pension and insurance funds. He outlined the bold policy measures implemented under the current administration, particularly the Petroleum Industry Act, which provides a clear and predictable fiscal and regulatory environment. The PIA, he said, has laid the foundation for licensing, transparency, host community engagement, strengthened regulatory oversight, and a fair contractual framework. Lokobere also stated that the recent asset divestments by IOCs have unlocked over $5.5 billion in final investment decisions within months. He advocated for stronger intra-African collaboration and financing, emphasizing that Africa holds nearly $4 trillion in domestic capital, including pension and insurance funds. The leadership of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has insisted that there were no constitutional breaches and violation against the national chairman, Ambassador Ilia Damagum, as alleged by the National Secretary, Senator Samuel Anyanwu. Addressing the media on the position of things in the party, National Publicity Secretary Debo Ologwagwa said by the constitution of the party as amended in 2017, the national chairman remained the chief executive officer of the party. To this end, he said he, by constitutional demand, had the right to delegate duties and responsibilities to other members of the National Working Committee for the smooth day-to-day running of the PDP as a political party. The party, therefore, insisted that the train of the November 16 and 17 National Convention was already in progress, as it was sacrosanct, despite some perceived distraction in some quarters. But the November 16 and 17 dates of the National Convention of the party, Ologwagwa said, were sacrosanct as they were destined to take place for the general purpose of reinventing the party. Now on to Kogi State to wrap up the news with a tragedy in Kogi where at least 14 people have been confirmed dead and more than 40 still missing after a boat carrying 80 passengers capsized on the River Niger. 24 survivors have been rescued, but officials fear the death toll could rise. Our correspondent, Frederick Odimayo, reports from Ibaji local government.
Both accidents remain a recurring tragedy across Nigeria's riverine communities, where waterways are vital transport routes, but safety standards are often ignored. On Tuesday, residents of Onugwa community in Ibaji were left in shock after a fully loaded boat en route to Oluchi Market in Edo State overturned. Authorities say only 24 of the 80 passengers on board had life jackets.
But it's only God that saved my wife, but my 2 children died. 2 kids, I died for a man, just a day. If not God that saved my wife, today how will I feel? Okay, I will die, follow them. If I die, follow them, my family never finish.
The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, confirmed 24 survivors, 14 bodies recovered, and 42 people still missing.
People affected, community affected, lives were lost. That's why we are here, to coordinate all the necessary resources and stakeholders to rescue people who have been affected by this mishap. You see yourself, based on the information that we've gotten and the interaction we just had with the village head, that as we speak, some people are still trapped right inside this river. So it's our responsibility to coordinate such a rescue operation to ensure that the last corp is brought out of this river.
The team also visited the traditional ruler of Onugwa community to commiserate with the people over the tragedy.
It is a very sad situation. Very sad. If the government can, we'll be very grateful if they can help us build another engine boat.
The Kogi State Emergency Management Agency says the government will support the bereaved and take steps to improve waterway safety.
The people missing are more
than those that have been recovered. And by the grace of God, in collaboration with other critical stakeholders, especially NEMA, our search and rescue team is going to be we're opening the search and rescue team today so that we will be able to recover all the souls that have not been found. We'll be able to bring the corpse out, and then we'll make sure no corpse is left not rescued.
As families mourn and rescue teams continue the search, this latest accident underscores Nigeria's ongoing struggle with waterway safety. Efforts are still on the way to recover those missing. Authorities are urging stricter safety enforcement on waterways to prevent future disasters. Frederick Odemoyo, Arise News, Ibadan.
Very sad news there from Ibaji, local government area in Kogi State. We do hope that the missing persons would be rescued, hopefully alive. Rufai, Dr. Bati, your take on these stories, starting from oil down to politics in the PDP and, of course, the story in Kogi State.
Very sad news from Kogi State. But is this the only boat mishap that has happened this year? What do we always say? It will happen again. It will happen again. You know why? Because culture will eat strategy for breakfast. We have a culture that does not pay attention to the things we ought to pay attention to. We do not have a culture of safety. We have a culture that majors in minor. Across all the threads of all the boats meet up, what do you see? Lack of safety. Nobody's paying safety attention. Did the people in the boat have life jackets?
Doubtful.
Who was supposed to mandate the fact that they wear life jackets before they got on the boat? Who inspects the boat? So these are the problems. Did the waterways have a rescue team on ground? Are there boats hovering around the waterway? So we will just commiserate with people. They'll say they will fix the waterway. I even doubt if the waterway even have provisions like things like lighthouses. So they'll say they'll fix the waterway. And in the end, nothing gets done. And we are waiting till the next boat mishap. And after, some people will now sit and say, oh, stop saying Nigeria happened to them. What happened to them? Japan, Abi? Korea? UK happened to them. It's Nigeria. It's Nigeria that happened to them, because when as a collective, we do not pay attention to safety. Nigeria happens to the person. I saw somebody yesterday was telling me that good things come out of Nigeria. Yeah, good things come out of Nigeria. When good things happen, we say we are proud that good things happen. But when bad things also happen, we will say it came out of Nigeria. So is it not Nigeria happening to us? Except we start to do things properly. Is it not the same tide of Nigeria happening to the PDP? Where two people are now conflicting the laws. The National Publicity Secretary of a party and National Secretary of a party. One says, the constitution of the party says that the National Secretary of the party should be able to go this way and announce for meetings and things like that. The National Publicity Secretary is saying, there's no aberration about the law. The law says that the chairman is the is the executive of the party.
Chief, yeah.
But we all know what the backstory is as regards the PDP. We all know that the puppets, there's a puppet and there's a person pulling the puppet string, and there's a hand of somebody that is serving in the APC government at the back that is winding the pendulum clock to frustrate them. And there's another faction that wants to save the party. So when we say the party was in comatose, a lot of people thought we were joking. But it is obvious that the party is in dire straits as we speak today. And that's why you are seeing two conflicting forces. But we will know. And things will get clearer when they do their convention. Mr. Heineken Lokobiri saying that they are gaining some traction, that they are producing more. Yes, there's been divestment and some new investments. People are going to deeper waters. All of this is good. But let us remind them of what they told Nigerians last year. They said by the end of last year, they will be doing over 2 million barrels. Till today, we are not still doing 2 million barrels. Yes, there's been an uptick in production compared to other years, from 900 at some point to a little over 1 million. Now it's 1.6, even 1 point, going up to 1.8. But the target was supposed to be 2 million barrels. Because I know way back in the 70s in this country, 75, 76, thereabout, when Yakubu Gowon was saying the problem is not money but how to, we were doing about 2.3 million barrels. Let's at least start with 2 million barrels. I yield the floor.
All right.
Okay, to start on oil, Heineken Lokobiri, the Minister of State for Petroleum, has been speaking recently. He spoke in New York on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly, and now he represented President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at the Africa Energy Week, I think in South Africa. And what were his main arguments? That the oil and gas sector in Nigeria is on the way to recovery. Two, that the PIA 2021, that the PIA has bring a lot of reform in terms of legal and other, and basic framework for the oil and gas sector for the benefit of investors, both local and international players. And three, that the divestment from the upstream sector by the IOCs, has also brought some dividends in terms of increased production to the extent of 200,000, 300,000 barrels of crude oil per day. However, I think that what Nigeria should be looking at is what is the best possible global standard and what can Nigeria achieve. I don't think it's a good thing for us to be celebrating the fact that the IOCs divested from Nigeria, IGPNI, Total, Shell, Chevron. Because what has happened in that market is that new fields have been found elsewhere. I mean, we were in Angola, right?
Yes.
And we were talking to Angola and saying we are doing cooperation, with Angola. Angola is doing much better than us. Other fields have been found in Guyana, in Chad, in Senegal. So it's not just Nigeria that is talking about oil. And oil is a wasting asset. Now, the ultimate ambition for Nigeria, instead of these masturbatory statements that Minister Heineken Lokobiri has been making, is how do we become like Sineco? I think that's China, CNCC of China. How do we become like Saudi Aramco? How do we become Sonangol of Angola? How do we become like all these better run national oil corporations, not to talk of the other issues that we have, in the downstream and all that. I never expected that a time will come when the Nigerian government, speaking through a minister, will be celebrating divestment from onshore and shallow waters of Nigeria by the IOCs. It means that there's something wrong with the joint ventures, and there's something wrong with the arrangement. That's why those IOCs are leaving Nigeria and looking for other places where standards are better observed. And I think that the responsibility for Nigeria will be how to upscale and not to say, oh, we are now producing 300,000 barrels extra. 300 barrels of what? Crude oil or associated gas, or, we're just experimenting. Now, as for the People's Democratic Party, we have made the point again and again here that there's a battle for the soul of the party, particularly ahead of the November 16, 17 scheduled non-elective, they say, some people say, election, non-elective, convention of the party in Ibadan. Now, Akwa Ibom, they have a peculiar situation in Akwa Ibom in the PDP. The governor, Dr. Eno, is already on the side of the APC. So you have a party there that is neither here nor there, neither toad nor frog. The governor is the one still controlling the PDP. He is also still the one controlling the APC. And you have a state executive of the party that is on both sides. So the chairman of the party will say, okay, you can't have an amphibious character in Akwa Ibom. Under the Constitution, the National Working Committee, led by the chairman, says the Congress, the executive, ESCO, in that state has been dissolved so that the party can take control in Akwa Ibom State. There's also a similar problem of a different, slightly different character in Cross River State. They have in Cross River State a PDP executive that is controlled more or less by Minister Nyesom Wike. And so you find, persons in the National Working Committee saying, no, we don't want Wike to control the situation in Cross River State. But meanwhile, the Cross River State PDP ESCO is committed to the APC, which Minister Wike, who is one of the principal members of the party, supports. In Kebbi, they have another problem. The chairman of the National Convention Committee, Kabiru Turaki, KT, SAN, comes from Kebbi State. I think he too has had to go to court to challenge whatever situation they have in Kebbi State, just to stop the party being hijacked by, elements that are loyal to other people. So you find that this is a political party that is fighting for control. Nyesom Wike is a major figure. Kabiru Turaki is a major figure. Who else is there? Yeah, Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State is also involved in this. There's conflict between the party and the governors and those who are, speculating and coming up with permutations about who should be the next candidate of the party to challenge the APC. So these are the issues. But we hope that, when the November 16 convention holds in Ibadan, the party will be able to sort out its problems. Finally, as for the accident in Kogi State, well, we keep making the point here that emergency management, emergency response is something that government should take seriously to align properly with the responsibility of government to ensure the safety of anyone in this space, whether Nigerian or an immigrant or a foreigner, whatever. But we see that oftentimes, in terms of emergency response, we keep dropping the ball. Whether it is an accident on the seas, or it is an accident on the rail lines, or it is a fire accident. I think these are the issues that Nigeria needs to focus upon more properly to make this environment safer for all of us.
Let me talk about the Kogi boat mishap this morning. Very sad one. And we often talk about how when we take health, safety and regulation properly, when we take it seriously, then we can avoid situations like this. Now, upon hearing this sad incident in Ibaji local government area of Kogi State, which some people have described as the worst tragedy to have affected that local government area, at least in modern history, I thought to look at a case study that's worked in terms of solution. So what could they have done better, especially when we talk about waterways management? Now, one of the successes, I must admit, is the Lagos State model. Through the Lagos State Waterways Authority, which was established in 2008 under the Fashola administration, but through successive governments have been able to improve, waterways transportation in Lagos State. And so I reached out to the Lagos State, to LASWA, and asked them, okay, what did they do right that perhaps other states that have water transportation can learn from? What lessons can we learn from them? And a few things happen. If you want to see results, it doesn't just happen by wishing it or hoping it or praying it. It has to be strategic, there have to be plans made, and you have to follow through. So this is a case of good leadership and mixed with, of course, responsibility and innovation. So the first thing they said they did was introduce technology. And all this happened within the last 2 years. And a number of states in Nigeria who have that form of transportation can learn lessons from this, because what we're hoping is that we won't have to experience or tell stories like this or report stories of this nature where there's a huge catastrophe or loss of lives as a result of negligence or lack of leadership or just not being able to manage that transportation properly. So they set up a waterways monitoring and Data Management Center. And this monitors real-time what's happening on the waterways. So introduction of technology. States need to adopt this. We need to be able to adopt technology to help to reduce incidents like this, or even reduce when accidents happen, which they do happen, reduce the fatalities that occur. They increase safety personnel, at the jetty. So they train them regularly. They make sure that everyone adheres to safety rules and regulation. This is happening in Lagos State. They also have biannual inspection of their boats and also spot inspection of these boats. They have enhanced emergency and rescue team. They set them up in strategic places so that where an accident happens, these people can respond very quickly and reduce the number of fatalities that happen, in eventualities like this. I must say that under the leadership of Mr. Damagum, who is the GM, it has changed significantly. Now, the death rate or accident rate was significantly more than what we have. It's measurable. So what I'm saying is that accidents happen, but we can either mitigate these accidents, have a risk assessment, or there can be technology or solutions to ensure that when they do happen, we can reduce the fatalities. Again, I say the Lagos State model has worked brilliantly, and there's nothing stopping other states from adopting this so that we don't keep saying, oh, this is so terrible, this is so bad. Accidents happen, we can mitigate them. Again, kudos to the Lagos State Waterways Authority. Now, going to Mr. Heineken Nukobiri, and I'm glad because yesterday we spoke about the Angola and Luanda situation and how Nigeria can learn some lessons based on this partnership. Yes, he talks about divestment almost as if it's a positive thing that this has introduced 200,000 barrels per day to the daily production for Nigeria. However, we also do know that part of what the PIA was supposed to do was to ensure that there was an investment-friendly environment, particularly in the oil and gas sector. Now, one of the things, because in Angola, what they did was major reforms in that sector, and they've seen yields now. We're talking about them now producing and even surpassing Nigeria when it comes to, output of oil production. One of the things that we must look at is in providing a conducive business environment, there was a competitive tax regime. It's often complained that one of the things, or what investors complain about, is the multiple tax regime and the corruption in that sector. So a few things that, yes, he's talking about the successes, but there's still a lot more things that we can benefit and, and improve the oil and gas sector based on the PIA if we do things right. So yes, he has mentioned the successes and what the PIA has enabled them to do, but there's still room for more. And if other countries can do it, we can learn. And I think maybe this morning my talk is about learning from things or models that have worked and how we can apply it. If it isn't broken, why fix it? So we can learn from, other places where they've adopted these models.